Okay, try and picture this with me. It's Delhi, mid-April 2025. April 16th, actually. And it is hot. That kind of sticky, intense heat.
Ugh, yeah. Delhi heat in April, not pleasant.
Exactly. And you're near 24 Akbar Road, the Congress headquarters, but it's louder than usual. There are protesters, workers shouting.
Right, making their voices heard? What was driving that?
Well, that's what we're diving into. It's this old case, 12 years old, actually, suddenly back in the headlines, the National Herald case.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That one's got layers. History, politics, finance, all tangled up.
Totally. And it feels like everyone's talking about it, but it gets complicated fast. So our mission right now is simple. Let's cut through the noise, the jargon, and figure out what this is really all about. This is your essential guide, basically.
Good plan. Because things really kicked off just before those protests, didn't they, on April 9th?
Yeah, what happened then?
That's when the Enforcement Directorate, the ED India's financial crime agency, filed a major charge sheet. And that filing, well, it put some very big names right back in the spotlight.
Really big names. We're talking top Congress figures. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, named as the main accused.
And others too. Sam Pitroda, he heads up the overseas wing for Congress. And Suman Dubey, who's a former journalist, known to be close to the Gandhi family for a long time.
And it wasn't just individuals. There were companies named too. Young, Indian, private, limited people, usually just say YL.
Right, YIL. And also a company based in Kolkata, Dotex Merchandise PVT Ltd., plus one of their office bearers, Sunil Bhandari. So quite a list.
It really is, which, brings us straight to the core question we need to tackle. What is this National Herald case? Why all this fuss?
Well, fundamentally, it revolves around three things. One, a newspaper, National Herald, with a pretty significant history. Two, the company that used to own it, Associated Journals Limited, or AJL, which ran into serious money problems. And three, some very valuable real estate, prime locations in Delhi, Mumbai, Lucknow.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. National Herald, founded way back 1937 by Jawaharlal Nehru himself. Huge historical connection there.
Absolutely. And AJL was the company behind it, owning the paper and, crucially, these properties. But then fast forward to around 2008.
Things weren't looking good for the paper then, right?
Not at all. Publishing stopped, AGL was struggling, and it had racked up a massive debt, about 90.21 crore rupees.
Wow. And who was owed that money?
Primarily, the All India Congress Committee, the AICC. So the political party itself was the main creditor to the company running the newspaper, founded by its iconic leader.
You can see how it gets intertwined, like you said. The party is lending money to the newspaper's company.
Exactly. Which sets the scene for the next big piece. This company, Young Indian Private Limited, or YIL, it gets incorporated in 2010.
Okay, a new player enters the scene. And who's behind YIL?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, politically speaking.
Yeah.
Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are the majority shareholders. They each hold 38%.
Right, so 76% between them. That's significant control.
Definitely. And then jump to 2014. That's when Subramanian Swamy, the BJP leader, files a private complaint.
What was his main accusation?
Basically, he alleged that YIL managed to acquire all of AJL's assets, which he claims were worth over 2,000 crore rupees, for just 50 lakh rupees.
Wait, 2,000 crore for 50 lakh? That's a massive difference.
Exactly. Swamy's argument was that this was essentially a fraudulent deal, a way to grab those valuable properties on the cheap. That huge discrepancy is what really sparked the initial controversy.
Okay, so Swamy makes the allegation. Then where does the ED come in and this money laundering charge?
Right, so the ED picks up the investigation, but they frame it differently. They're looking at it through the lens of money laundering. Their claim is that the whole series of transactions involved what they call proceeds of crime.
And they put a number on that.
They did. 988 crore. That's the figure the ED is using for these alleged proceeds of crime. A very substantial amount.
So how do they get to that number? What's the alleged mechanism?
Okay, the ED's theory goes something like this. That original 90 crore loan from the AICC to AJL, they allege it wasn't treated like a normal loan repayment. Instead, it was somehow converted into equity shares in AJL.
So the debt became ownership shares?
Apparently, that's the allegation. And then those newly created shares were transferred from AJL to Young Indian to YL.
Ah, I see. So the ED is saying that sequence loan to equity, equity to YL, effectively gave YL, and therefore its main shareholders, the Gandhis, control or beneficial ownership of AJL's real estate.
That's the crux of the ED's argument, yes.
Yeah.
They believe this complex maneuver bypassed proper procedures, and essentially laundered the value of those assets.
And they've filed charges under a specific law, right?
Yes, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the PMLA, they've invoked Section 3, which defines the actual offense of money laundering, and Section 4, which lays out the punishment, and that can include serious jail time. So these are very serious charges.
It's not just a general accusation either. Did the ED specify how these alleged proceeds of crime were generated?
They did give some details in their charge sheet. They pointed to about 18 crore that they claim came from fake donations, another euro 38 crore from what they call questionable advance rent payments, and then another 29 crore from, again, allegedly bogus advertisements. So they're trying to show specific financial flows they believe were illegitimate.
Right. So the charge sheet is filed April 9th. What happens next legally?
Things moved quite quickly then. A special judge, Shelgonia, formally took cognizance of the charge sheet. That basically means the court acknowledged the filing and found enough grounds to proceed.
And a hearing was set.
Yes, scheduled for April 25th, 2025, a date for the court to start looking into the matter more formally.
But the ED didn't just wait for the court date, did they? There was another move just days later.
No, they didn't wait. On April 11th, just 2 days after the charge sheet, the ED issued notices. They moved to seize AJL Assets properties in Delhi, Mumbai, and Lucknow, valued at 661 crore.
Wow, 661 crore. That includes Herald House in Delhi, doesn't it? The really iconic building.
It does. Herald House is central to this. It's not just valuable property. It's dripping with historical and political symbolism for the Congress Party. Seizing that would be huge.
You can see why the Congress Party would react strongly then. Those protests on the 16th make more sense now.
Absolutely. Imagine hearing that the ED is moving to seize properties worth hundreds of crores, including a building so tied to your party's legacy. The reaction was swift and angry. Placards, slogans, they were clearly calling it a political attack.
And party leaders spoke out.
Oh, yes. Supriya Srinath, for instance. She came out saying, look, this is a 12-year-old case. There's been no actual money exchanged illegally. This is just the BJP government scared of Rahul Gandhi's politics. That was her line.
Pretty direct.
Very. And Jairam Ramesh, another senior leader, he went even further on social media, on X. He called the ED's actions state-sponsored crime disguised as law.
Strong words.
He directly accused PM Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah of using the agencies against the opposition, said it was vendetta politics gone berserk. The message was clear. We see this as an attack, and we won't be silenced.
It's important, though, to remember how this all started. It wasn't the ED initially, was it? It was Subramanian Swamy.
Exactly. His private complaint back in 2014 is what set the ball rolling. He was the one who first alleged fraud and land grabbing. His persistence has kept this case alive.
And the courts have allowed the case to continue, despite challenges.
They have. Both the Delhi High Court and even the Supreme Court have essentially said there's a case to answer here. They didn't dismiss it. Sonia and Rahul Gandhi got bail back in 2015, but the legal process has ground on.
Which brings us back to that question of timing. Why now? Why the charge sheet and seizure notices in 2025 after all this time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or perhaps the multi-crore question here. Elections aren't far off. Rahul Gandhi has been quite active politically, and it looks suspicious to many.
So two narratives emerge, right? One is, well, investigations take time. Maybe the ED just gathered enough evidence now. Coincidence.
That's one view. The ED itself says their 2021 probe, triggered by that earlier court order based on Swamy's complaint, found sufficient evidence. They're also now valuing the assets much higher, around 5,000 crore in today's market.
5,000 crore. That's a huge jump from Swamy's initial 2,000 crore estimate.
It is. But the other narrative, the one Congress pushes hard, is that this timing is absolutely deliberate. A political hit job aimed at disrupting them before the elections.
And Congress has a counter-argument about YL itself, doesn't it? About its status.
Yes, they consistently point out that Young Indian is registered as a Section 25 company, basically, a nonprofit entity. They argue it hasn't engaged in any charitable work, which they say undermines the idea of it being some kind of criminal enterprise set up for profit. They question the whole premise.
So if you step back, this whole case really reflects the broader political climate in India, doesn't it? It's intensely polarized.
Completely. You've got the BJP side saying the ED is just doing its job, fighting corruption. And look, the courts haven't thrown the case out.
And on the other side, Congress saying this is a blatant misuse of state power, weaponizing agencies for political revenge, vendetta politics.
It's tough for an ordinary person to untangle all the legal and financial knots. But maybe the simplest way to think about it is, did the people involved gain improper control over these very valuable assets, linked to this historic newspaper? That's the core question, buried under all the noise.
And that upcoming court hearing on April 25th feels pretty significant now. What happens there could really set the direction.
It could. And if the ED actually succeeds in seizing those 661 crore worth of assets, especially Herald House, that's a major blow, financially and symbolically, to the Congress Party.
Definitely. So it's clear the saga is far from over. It's this complex mix of finance, law, history, and of course politics.
A potent mix. It really shows how past legacies can get pulled into present-day political fights.
So just to recap for everyone listening, we've got the historical roots with the National Herald newspaper, then the complex financial dealings involving AJL, the AICC loan, and the creation of YL.
Right. Then the ED steps in with these serious money laundering allegations under the PMLA, citing specific figures like the 988 crore proceeds of crime.
Followed by the swift legal actions, the charge sheet, the seizure notices, and naturally, the strong political pushback from Congress, framing it as a politically motivated attack.
And we can't forget Subramanian Swamy's initial role and the ongoing legal battle simmering for years before this recent escalation.
So the questions we leave you with are really about perspective. How do you see this? Is it the wheels of justice finally turning on potential financial wrongdoing?
Or does the timing right before elections make you think it's more about political strategy?
Right.
What does this whole episode tell you about how power, politics, and legal systems interact in India today?
It's a fascinating, complex case. And whatever the final legal outcome, which might still be a long way off, it really forces us to think about transparency, about how accountable powerful figures are, and about the role these investigative agencies play, or maybe should play, in a democracy.
Absolutely. Definitely a story to keep watching. It's not just about the past. It's shaping the present and potentially the future political landscape, too. Keep following the developments and keep asking those critical questions.